The great thing about the Civic online reasoning curriculum is that it's so relevant. When we're on digital learning, unfortunately, kids are also looking at their phones, a
Yep.
lot more on their screen time. And so it's a really easy grabber for students to gravitate towards images. It's so accessible.
So images is your starting point. How do can you find new images that you think will spark interesting conversations? So as a new class starts each year, what do you do when you're going online to find images that will spark interesting conversations?
It's interesting. A lot of times, students will come to you with an image or they'll discuss it, where we're in person. You'll see people looking at an image and debating it. And I know that in the spring, after we had done all of this curriculum, students came to me with images about what they thought about that were COVID-19, or they were being spread about that. And, they were accepting them, and it was blowing my mind. I said, but we had spent all this time talking about how we analyze and how we reverse source. And, the students said, yeah, we've done this. Why do you accept that? So oftentimes it comes from students. Another way that I will look at it is, honestly, I look at, websites like Snoops, and I look at what are people starting to fact check and what are these images that are being circulated. I'm also really lucky to be a member of a lot of teacher discussion boards. And teachers will often put out images on the discussion boards and say, this is a great place, this is a great image to discuss, or this is somewhere to start. And so, yeah.
Those are three great suggestions. So finding what students bring to you that they're confused or having trouble with or getting duped by, going to fact-checking sites like Snopes.com and looking for sources there, and then just being in conversation with other colleagues, who are addressing these same kinds of issues. When a student comes to you and they've misinterpreted an image, can you tell us a little bit about what you do in those circumstances, how you debug those challenges, how do you mostly question people? What kinds of reteaching do you do? How do you walk people through things?
I think it definitely depends on the context of how the student brings that image to you. If they bring it to you an image, where you're having a one-on-one conversation, they said, have you seen this? Then usually for me, we discuss it, and then that usually triggers for me, okay, so if this student's thinking this, there's a good chance that a lot of other students are having that thought. And so that becomes a discussion point for me to come back and circle back. And I can give you an example. Most recently, we were analyzing images of the March on Washington, and then I was showing them images, live feed from CNN just last Friday, and it was the anniversary. And then I saw some images that were circulating, and there was this question about the validity. And I thought, okay, kids have these questions. Let's circle back on Monday and really look into that more deeply. If it comes to the full class discussion and someone were to bring forth a question, you have to be sensitive to kids that, if they believed something, there might be reasons that they believed that, it might have been something that was told to them from their parents, or, so usually that's something that I will bring back with a different image, or bring back that skill again, to not, as the kids would say, put that student on blast in front of everybody, but it is always a discussion point. I think we'd be naive to say that all of us haven't fallen for some sort of image, or we've looked at it critically and thought. And so I think it's also framing that way. And I usually share with students, as someone who teaches environmental issues, I'll say, there's so many issues or images related to climate change. And, I saw one in the beginning of the coronavirus that was like, look at all the things that are thriving because humans are gone. They weren't real. But you see it and you think because you want to believe, and so we have that discussion about how, our confirmation bias can also really guide that. And I share, like, I thought this was real and I was really happy about it. And then I looked into it and I was kind of disappointed that it wasn't. And so I think also expressing to students that this is something that even adults have to constantly use as a skill.
Right, that none of us are immune to these efforts of disinformation. But those are some great tips. So it sounds like one baseline thing you have going on is just whenever you feel like you've encountered a scenario when you were kind of duped, or weren't using these civic online reasoning skills as fluently as you'd want to, you can bring those examples and say, hey, look, here are some ways that I'm being challenged.